All right, everyone. Can we all hear?
Yeah.
Great. All right, Ding, I'm going to start the meeting. My name is Jerica Whitlock. I'm the chairman of membership for Rotary International Dare to Be Great, where you will find the people who are courageous enough to change the whole world. In recent meetings, we've talked a lot about our areas of focus of our club, potential projects, especially in regard to education and about the developments in artificial intelligence that offer both opportunities and risks. So today, I would like to just pick your brain, and since you are available today, you can. Um, I would like to pick your brain on how, in fact, your perception has come about over these last couple of months of our immediate action items that we are going to take, next steps, and how do you think we go about doing things? Because we've spoken a lot about the differences in how we approach different actionable items, such as being the influence of the influencers. So I'd like to take your comment first because you have to leave the meeting a little early today.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. Um, my idea was to continue where we left off last week. Um, uh, well, perhaps we go back a little bit. Over the past couple of months or weeks, even years, we had various discussions, and the reason why I'm here is because the project uh, Bill is pursuing, and my own project, which is called the Law of Nature Manifesto, initiatives that kind of need each other. Each initiative has elements that, in my opinion, are needed, in my experience, are needed to get both through the system. And yeah, last week we focused on how do we get the impactful solutions through the system in a world where the systems are gridlocked in the thinking that created the problems. And the obstacles in that respect have just sort of exponentially grown, in particular over the recent years, so that we need to get a fresh thinking in place in order to get through the system. And what we left off is last time, and correct me if you see it a little bit different, Jerika, about where we left off from my perspective was what message could we create that gets the target audience, that makes a target audience say, hey, this is interesting. I want to know more. I want to contribute. And uh, Bill mentioned at the end he would create a space where we could put the information that every participant could contribute in that respect. I haven't heard it yet. I haven't heard the place yet. Maybe it's because I didn't get the emails. But anyhow, I prepared a little message. So if you would allow me to share my screen, we can quickly go through it, and then there would be my input.
Of course, thank you. Let me see if I can. Bill has made me the host. Let me see if I can get you to share your screen. Okay.
Share this one. Okay. So, yeah, I needed this for my project as well, so I got going on it. And the message, and by all means, if somebody has a better message that's more appealing, please throw it in. So what I came up with is the question, why risk a child dropping out of schools, becoming a troubled child, or even drifting into a criminal past? When it could be cool for parents and teachers to complement each other on providing essential foundations for a prospering life. Or there's schools and universities fostering talents. This could be made to happen by bringing the needs for exact and linear thinking and those fostering talents into balance with or and those fostering talents into balance with each other. I think I need to redo this a little bit. Then providing two education tracks, one for those drawn to exact and linear practices and one for those drawn to exploring their talents. Each track should also have key elements from the other track. Fostering polymath skills, that's for those drawn to seek knowledge and solutions involving multiple disciplines and both types of practices. That's the school and university side. But there's also the parent side. When parents could be coached to learn tips and tricks through which children can learn what is permissible versus what is not. And this training is available through health services, and we have gone through it because we had a troubled child, and there were only 10 evening sessions in which we were coached. That's only 10 sessions for making a huge difference throughout the life of the child. And if you wonder what techniques those are, what have actually been broadcasted on TV through series called Super Nanny or similar in the US, in Europe, and probably across the world. That is now a couple of years ago. So the question is next. Next question is, how could we get this going without additional activities or with an absolute minimum of activities or involvement of those igniting this? Well, there's a concept of leadership questions. Leadership questions are questions that are hard to ignore on the one hand, and on the other hand, guide to where effective solutions can be found. They don't have to be sort of dictated. On the contrary, in today's world, people should get the feeling, hey, this is interesting. This is what I liked. This is something I could benefit from. So, in other words, it should not come from top down or pushed through, but ideally, there is some selection possibility at the other end in the schools, in the state, at the state levels or wherever. So then we can ask questions like, at school, we learn all sorts of things. Mothers receive birth training. But where is the training for this daunting task of raising children and preparing them for life? That's the training I just mentioned. Why aren't parents provided this training through which children can learn what is permissible versus what is not? At school and universities, why are our children and students pushed away from exploring their talents and hence motivation to learn and into the, for many, demotivating exact practices? Why risk a substantial part of neurons and hence capacity for the development of skills being lost through the phenomenon of use it or lose it, when this could be prevented through, for example, ensuring sufficient sport and outdoor activities at school? And the background to this is with high energy needs of long-distance neurons in the brain and capacity bottleneck law of nature, it's pretty obvious that the neurons of long distance between the left and the right hemisphere of the brain, for example, are the first to be lost when they are not used. Well, that's basically a contribution, and that's it. So please shoot at it.
Very good. Thank you very much, Eugen. So in regard, just to expand on this, as we are a group that addresses root causes. We are not seeking to, um, for symptomatic purposes, we are not seeking to seek activity in those realms. um, how are we able to transfer this more in a global tone? As you know, there are socio-specific situations as well as socioeconomic situations as we go across the globe. We aren't all first world countries and have particular accesses to things. So, in regard to your document, how would you approach this as a root cause? You could even think of it in the realm of the Sustainable Development Goals. How those are broken down.
Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. Th-
Yes.
This would be part of this. Well, the nice thing is the Rotary Club has so many members. So basically, the easiest thing everybody could contribute is asking the leadership questions. Yeah, everywhere in all countries where there is a Rotary Club. And then we'll have to provide them additional information where they can quickly find uh, extended on information so they can get going, they can go to next steps. And that's where the two initiatives could merge because that's exactly addressing it. What we have also discussed last time was the tremendous complexities in the background, the enormous obstacles that today's initiatives are faced with. Well, we have actually come to the conclusion that a single initiative, no matter how big, is not in a position anymore to get impactful solutions through the system. So what we have done, we have addressed or identified actually the root causes at the system level. And this is one of them. Well, this addresses one of them, the education problem. We have now a situation where in school, where in organizations, we have greatest difficulties to get impactful or to get the support for impactful solutions that exists out there. By people who are employed in organizations and get them through their decision-making processes, simply because this education I'm addressing here that also the Dare to Be Great initiative addresses, uh, this is so important but missing today. So that would get me now into another area. My Actually, I'm working right now on a way to make it more visible how this and a few more such root causes and leadership questions uh, could be presented so that people can get into action, can start asking the leadership questions. Um, I think I'm halfway through in getting to a page now that is easy enough. So the majority of people could get started, could use it. And yeah, on the other hand, Bill, Dare to Create initiative has so many things on the education side of things that could be brought in to make it happen. So
Yes.
yeah, here's not to tell exactly what needs to be done. Here it is. We have today a chaos of guidance, of directions. We need to develop a common path, and we can do that when we address root causes of the highest damage and keep the majority of people at a level that feels comfortable for them, that feels right. Like parents and teachers, they have an interest in a good future for their children. And when we can get them on board asking these questions, and then some of them try getting into co-creation of solutions, getting messages that can no longer be this, or the key thing is when decisions are to be made, and that's where this intervenes in decision-making processes, directly asking these questions. If there are leadership questions, they're hard to ignore. And then group pressure is expected to build up and make the decisions that solve the problems instead of throwing yet more of the same thinking into the system. I've seen this working personally in an organization of at the time 100,000 people, and these kind of questions make processes huge change projects obsolete to quite some degree.
Absolutely. And in a particular mode of urgency, um, with our relationship with the United Nations SDGs, we are approaching 2030 quite rapidly, as far as you could even consider the events that are taking place around the world, especially with conflict and war. When we look at that particular circumstance and we think about the trajectory of education going forward, and perhaps what we can observe is what is needed when we are talking or uh, when we are performing communications with the general public. um, in your perspective, and Hawa and Ingrid, welcome. You feel free to jump in whenever. When we speak about the communications portion to the general public, is there a way that you see we could both boost the relevance of Rotary International as well as the United Nations?
Actually, yes. Um, and that gets me to a thing I mentioned a couple of times before, to an engagement loop. So if you just get one message out there, it gets lost. So uh, we need an, a loop where we keep feeding the system with possible solutions, with uh, leadership questions. And so people can start acting on it and see other interesting things coming in. The other thing is I'm working with another initiative right now that has developed from the Octopus movement. That's a network of non-diverse individuals. We have what we came to is this: wait a moment, if we want to solve our big problems, we need to think differently. And who are the people who are more likely than others to think differently? That are people who are neurodivergent. They have ADHD, autism, dyslexia, and the like. And by the way, Einstein, Newton, and Darwin had autism, high functioning autism as well. So we have these big examples, but what do? We exclude those people. Yeah. And what we have, and we are ending, or what we are busy right now, actually, it's well advanced. Right now, we see developments that there is growing interest of getting the talents these people have into organizations, but it's an uphill battle. Actually, I'm arguing it's easier to climb Mount Everest than getting through this battle. So we've taken a different approach and we have asked us, hey, wait a moment, how can we create demand for the talents of neurodivergent individuals? So that's an approach that's complementary, and we may actually be in a position to get through that route in parallel another very large group going that's complementary. And the more complementary the initiatives are in getting these leadership questions out, leadership questions that help the other initiatives, that help the own initiative, the higher the group pressure, the easier it should be to get through the system. So what we might need to do with Dare to Create as well is to do a similar approach. Um, Maybe we could call it very similar, and ask how can we change how can we create demand for the education needs that we need to solve all complex. No, let me put it differently. How can we create demand so that our children are receiving the education they need to solve big problems and create a prospering future? Something like that. That would be a little brainstorming together with members
Absolutely.
of the group. Everybody contributes. It should be a very small team, just key people who really understand the matter, who understand the groups involved or impacted. Yeah, they should have pretty good understanding of those. Right now, we're doing this with about 10 people. It's a complete team. Usually there are 5, 6 showing up, and that's actually pretty good productive, much more productive than working with hundreds or even thousands of people.
Absolutely. As we're seeking to cause that pivot into the millions of people.
Mm.
Um, One question for the rest of the group here. Hawa, let me just give you a short blurb as to what we're all about. And perhaps you could give us just a little comment on your experience as far as the SDGs are concerned and the urgency toward 2030 um, in regard to education. So I will give you just a little short about what we're all about. As a club with a community that is the entire world and a mission to help our community avoid all severe and potential existential consequences and the major problems facing the world, our club approached problems differently than most Rotary clubs. We cannot simply roll up our sleeves and personally fix all the world's problems. As a result, we see ourselves as a combination of facilitator of think tanks that facilitate getting the world's best applicable problem solvers and influencers together to address the world's major problems. Influencers who seek to be influenced to the influencers, leaders, those who can help ensure the effective application of the best solutions to mitigating the impact of potential problems. So, Hawa, would you mind? I know you're new to the call, but would you mind giving us just a little bit of commentary toward the urgency of 2030?
Um, Sorry, that was a question for me or for Ingrid?
This was for Hawa
Oh,
Diallo Taylor. Are you still with us, Hawa?
oh yeah.
Yes, I am. Good morning,
Hi.
everybody.
Good
I
morning.
just decided to, I was trying to see if I should log on my laptop. Yeah, no, it's good. I was actually just trying to figure out, what the group is about. I got this link from Bill, maybe, I don't know, before, and I thought I had missed the meeting. So I said, let me just click on. So I'm totally green and fresh, which is sometimes a good thing. As I mentioned, my name is Howard Taylor Kamara Diallo. I recently retired from the UN in 2024 after working for 38 years. I've worked a lot with UN issues. In my last position, I was head of civil society for the Department of Global Communication. So I've come to know a lot of NGO organizations that are now friends and family. I worked a lot with different Rotary clubs because I believe this is a Rotary club. And I've known Bill for many, many years and worked with him on youth leadership and youth empowerment issues. So upon retiring, I formalized my own NGO, which is the IB Tila Kamara Foundation, and we're actually anchored on education. So the focus is Africa, the global South, but specifically Africa, working across the continent and using education as the ladder to empower people first and then communities with the hopes of making an impact on the national and global level. I mean, I've worked a lot with the SDGs. I'm familiar with them. And I think, yes, there is an urgency, but I think we also need to be speaking from my experience, actually, just working on the ground, because I've had both policy and worked at a headquartered level and a local level for the UN in the years. And my NGO now is very much a localized entity, although we are, formally registered in the US. I believe that we need to localize everything that we're doing. So it's great to have a small team of people thinking and talking about this topic, but it's making sure you have the right individuals who are actually beneficiaries talking about the solutions in a very local way. And local sometimes means in your own language, so you can understand it better and you can share the solutions that are related to the SDGs. I have seen firsthand where the SDGs are very much in action across the world, not only in Africa, in Asia, and Latin America. And people just don't call it the SDGs, locally grown and locally owned solutions. And of course, education many times is at the center of everything that's happening. But that education cannot forget local know how, local experience, and local expertise and practices. This is what I have learned, that many times at the United Nations and in many international organizations, we're simply checking boxes based on what we feel should be happening, whether it's the SDG, whether it's youth, peace, and security, whether it's disarmament. It's to really have that local ownership, regardless of what we're dealing with, whether it's women's empowerment, whether it's education. And for me, education is also a lifelong process. So I understand, I think we're focusing on young people here, but education for me, of course, is formal education, as we know, uh, informal education. I grew up mostly in the US, but my formative years, I'd say 1 to 5, was in Sierra Leone. And even in the US, I've been privileged to benefit from oral history from my mother, from my family. And for me, that has been one of the most, is it educative? Is that so? Educational experiences that I have ever had. And it helps me, or has helped me, through my years at the United Nations and in implementing and understanding local projects and activities. So, thinking of education as a lifelong experience and looking at it not just as the formal, but informal, and as well as the information aspect of it, of education. I worked in many years for the Department of Global Communications. So that information arm of the United Nations, as the accurate, spoken word of the UN, is, one of the most important educational platforms of the organization, whether it's been through print, through the spoken word of meetings, through radio, which is still very impactful, or through literature. So, I'm excited to be here. I can't say much more, but just really lend what I've maybe um, experienced actually doing the work and hearing from beneficiaries. A lot of times at the UN, it sounds like gobbledygook, a lot of acronyms, and people don't understand. Even at the UN, whenever I spoke to people, especially in speaking engagements, I would be very simple. I would make it relatable to the people that I'm speaking with and stay away from the UNEs, breaking down whatever it is the UN is doing into a way that is relatable, that is understandable, and it is friendly in the language so that people really know what you're talking about. And then they can take that message, further, within their communities. I hope I didn't sort of go around, but that's basically what kind of just came to my head. I'd have to read a little bit more and understand, you know, um, what contributions are needed and how also, it's a learning experience always for me. I mentor a lot of young people, but I have been mentored myself by so many young people. So it's a two-way street in terms of education and in terms of that mentorship. Thanks so much for your time.
And thank you so much. We really do appreciate you, Hawa. And your commentary is extremely insightful, especially when we get into the conversation about, language that we use with the public, especially our youth. Um, there is a lot of jargon that happens at the United Nations, and many discussions, and it is hard to understand when we are seeking to um, make the institution relevant to the public, to the youth especially. And that's also what we would like to see happen for Rotary International as well as the UN utilizing the platform of the SDGs. Um, Ingrid and Joan, Michael, welcome. Joan, if or Ingrid, if you would like to add some commentary.
Before going on, as I mentioned, I have to leave after half an hour, so sorry, but I've put my contribution into the chat. And
Thank you.
as far as I'm concerned, let's continue next time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Eugen. And I will also have Bill send you the recording of the rest of the meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I have a
All
question.
right. Thank you.
Eugen.
Yeah,
Is it Eugen or Eugene?
it's Eugen, yeah.
Eugen.
Oi.
So I just read your paper, and those 10 sessions, is that like also online, or is it only you have to go somewhere to get that training?
Well, actually, it was in this Super Nanny training, in this Super Nanny documentaries. They are likely to be. Oh well, the Super Nanny actually, if you search for it, you should find it or should find sessions on YouTube.
Okay.
It's a simple sessions like, okay, the child is did something it shouldn't do. What do? We say, okay, the rest of the day, get into your room and stay there. That doesn't work.
Mhm.
So what we learned is get the child into a quiet space for 5 to 10 minutes. And when a child has come down, it can come back. And that's way more effective. If one knows those tricks, we have learned, or we came to the conclusion, children can learn what is permissible versus what is not. At puberty, it's too late. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's officially available through health services. Yeah. For a long time, it was only for troubled children, like our son at the time. He had daily emotional outbursts and ADHD. Yeah, and that reduced to a level where it was just acceptable until we found other therapy through which ADHD and dyslexia have gone. No emotional output. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to comment on that, Yogan, before you go. I never sent my daughter to her room. She didn't act up that much, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But I always thought that her room was her refuge rather than punishment. So I never wanted to send her to her room. So if anything, I would just talk to her and would resolve it. But one of the things I
Yeah.
said to her from the time she was very young to I was dreading the teenage years because South Asians, and they're very respectful to their elders, but North Americans, not necessarily. So I was very aware of that. So I said to her, I believe in independent thought and independence. So one of the things that is a red line for me is disrespect. So if you want me to work with you to see your point of view, do not disrespect me, and I won't disrespect
Well,
you. And it really worked, I think, especially as a teenager, because I was dreading the whole teenage thing. Because I saw the TV shows and the kids were so sarcastic to their parents. I thought seniors were stupid, and I was brought up the opposite, right? So anyway,
Very interesting. Yeah.
yeah. So
Could
I
be
just want to
another
share that.
technique, just to add it to that. But at the end of the day, it turned out about 10 practices were sufficient, even with ADHD, to calm down these emotional outbursts. Yeah.
Yeah. It was okay for her to do that too. Like if you feel it, do it, but just don't
Yeah. As long as it doesn't overcome as
right.
something, as a real punishment, and nothing to do about it, but when people can think about it and can calm down, by all means, I would say, yeah, from that
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. I
Okay,
just
I
want to
have to
share
go.
that I didn't
Yes.
understand. Yeah. Anyway, talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
you.
again.
Yeah.
Bye.
So hi, JR. You asked me if I wanted to say something. Unfortunately, I have to leave by 10 o'clock, but I thought I'll join. So I didn't hear the IBK total delivery. Sorry about that. But what I did hear, I thought was very pleasing. I've often thought about, well, let me say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, first of all. I think that when I read UN documents, I always think, who the heck is writing these things? Because it's always, it's not just gobbledygook for me. It's a lot of it is like framework and policy, and like normal people want to just know what the action is. What do you want me to do? Here's a problem. Here's the action. And oh, thank you. My favorite husband just brought me a banana. So I think that I've only dealt with youth. I ran a course that was funded by the Canadian government for at-risk youth, they call them. We never called them that when we were doing the training because it labeled them. And a lot of times they were just rebellious and opinionated and nobody listened to them. So we treated them like normal. And I just want to point out that we ran our course for 5 years, as were, I think there were 25 entities that got funded by, it was called the Canadian Job Strategy, got funded over 5 years to do training. So it included skills training and entrepreneurship. This is back in 1991. And our school was the only, we got all of the leftovers. So all the corporate biggies got the first pick, the cream, we used to call them, they creamed the best candidates. And because we were an environmental group and alternative living, as they would call us, we got all the leftovers, as they call it. And we're like, okay, we love that, because those are the most insightful kids. We could relate to them. And we were the only school that never had one single incident in terms of violence and police and things like that. And so much so that the organizers, the funders, the Canadian government, made appointments to come and see us and asked us if we were hiding and not reporting any incidents. And we're like, no, what are you talking about? They could not believe a school could run with the leftovers, as they call them, that we were supposed to have all of the problems, whereas the other schools were having all kinds of problems. And we're like, no, we didn't. So we started thinking, oh, if they keep asking us that question, why is that? Why aren't we? Because we never thought of, we were not anticipating any problems. You just treat people like people, right? Like that's what we did. And you have to excuse my language, but this is coming from a student. So we asked them, I said, oh, we're very pleased that things are going well. So we're wondering, what are you, this is the first session, what are you pleased with? How can we help you? How can we further our action? This kind of thing. We talked to them, right? We asked them. And so they gave us a bunch of answers. We respected them. We listened to them, all the things that you should really do. Because we had actually it was me, a life skills person that was there just to listen to them, not judge them, just to listen to them. And they had lots of poverty problems and, okay, oh God, we won't get into those. And one of the students, after everybody was giving the courteous answers, I guess, he just looked up and he says, well, we all decided that we're not going to shit where we eat. Was like, okay, I get it. So basically, they understood that we were treating them like people, and their response was to be helpful to us and help, and it was unbelievable. And so I think that when you deal with youth, and I mean, I employ that with my own daughter, is to listen to her, because not impose what I believed on her, to give her some framework, but some guidance on how I operated, and how could we work within that, and it worked out really well. But it's simply communicating with people and caring about people that makes a lot of difference. And not judging them according to the clothes they wear or how much income they have. At the end of it, they have a heart. And that's what mattered to us in anything I do. I mean, I deal with lots of rich people too, and there are not, we talk about at-risk people. They're, oh, anyway, so I have a lot of, experience in terms of dealing with the different people. But at the end of the day, people are people, and they do recognize when you care. And if you're simple and relevant, they will listen. And I just want to say that. I have lots more to say, but I'll just shut up. No.
Thank you, Joan. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I have a comment too,
Yes.
Joanne, because you're so right. Like you got questions, how come they perform so well? We had the same issue here in Memphis, where my church, it's a pretty large church, adopted a school which is probably 95% refugees, Latinos, Arabs. Like the school was very underperforming because language and everything. But every Sunday school class adopted a class and gave them the attention, the individual attention that the student needed in order to learn and excel. And then at performance time, we also had the school system question how come their test scores are all of a sudden so good. So it is like, if you really have people who are pouring out their heart and helping them to get where they need to go in order to do well, and then it's going to be just questioned as if that's not possible. But anything is possible, because these kids in their own language probably can excel much faster than like in our situation here if you don't understand what even is asked for. But individual attention, I think, is the key for a lot of these things.
Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Ashok. Joan, can I just reflect back three things? One, as a former Canadian and now in U.S. for 39 years, my 20 years in Edmonton, Alberta, as an immigrant, reminded me that it's really important to start with human dignity and feeling welcome in a new place is a journey, and it takes time to have people support you and navigate you through the obstacles or the barriers to success. So my mom didn't speak English. I didn't know too many words when I was in preschool, but what really helped was there was a person who, Mrs. Mann, who helped my mom work through the system, get me to school, and her daughter was in my class. So there was peer support, plus there was parental support, and there was somebody you could count on that was outside of your immediate family struggles. And so that was really important to have dignity and social support. The other was in healthcare too, and as I've worked across the world, uh, a hospital for the poor doesn't have to be a poor hospital.
Right.
So I think it takes shared commitment to, yeah, I say keep the shit out of the room or whatever. It's really important to confront honestly, brutally honest, with what is going well and where the gaps are or what the elephant in the room is.
Yeah.
And I think this convening that we have right now gives us psychologically safe space to model that and then to be inspired by each other. And so I really love what you said about holding a space that's psychologically safe, non-judgmental, and yet full of inspiration and positive regard for the possibilities of what can be shaped for going forward. And
Yeah.
we do it at the individual teacher level or at the UN agency level. Trust and dignity have to be central to that framework.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, that's great. I mean, I have hundreds of stories to share because, I've been doing this for 45 years. So it's I just want to point out one other thing that about human dignity, that if we start treating people like they're people, like I don't know why that's so hard for people to do. I can't get it in my head why it's so hard. I mean, it's one of the easiest things, and yet everybody makes it so hard. I don't get
Well,
it.
yeah.
Well,
There's
even when we
Julie.
delve into the topics of dignity, right, and we draw back, Joan and Ashok, extremely familiar with what we do here. When we're talking into about our next action items as far as communications, as
Mhm.
far as drawing relevancy, not just to our club, but the overall goals of Rotary International, as well as addressing the sustainable development goals coming out of the UN. When we are going into those communications, what are your comments on not only our tone, but a lot of people missed Eugen's presentation, and I will have Bill upload that into the Telegram so everyone can see his paper.
Yes.
What are your comments on our tone to the people and to leaders in regard to communications there?
You want me to go first, or
Just
you?
yeah, I could go first.
Go
Whoever
ahead.
wants to step up to the mic.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Well,
just have to leave by 10 o'clock. That's all. So,
Um,
okay.
would you,
Well, why don't
Ashok, would you mind if Joan went first,
yes.
just so we can
Yeah,
get her on the record?
yes, I'd love that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashok.
Yeah.
yeah. So the Sustainable Development Goals, obviously, I'm in love with them. I started an organization in 2003 called the Foundation for Building Sustainable Communities. So I've been committed, and I ran school in the 90s about environmentalism and stewardship. I think that when people think of the UN, they don't. Most people don't think of localizing it. So it's like even though the UN says, oh, localize the SDGs, do this. It was normal people, and I've done this for. Actually, I did a presentation yesterday on our journey on how we engage people in environmentalism and doing sustainable actions. We made it fun. And I think that what happens is when people hear the SDGs, they think of seriousness, and they think that they don't have a place in it. And you have to put them in a place where they think they own the action. And I think that's the problem that the SDGs have, is that there's 17 SDGs, and it's a framework that we all should localize. Well, just tell me what to do. Don't tell me to go to a meeting. Give me an action, something I can do in my everyday life. And that's how we've approached the SDGs. And the environmentalists were very guilty of this too. They would give you the doom and gloom story of the earth was going to hell and we're all going to perish. And people want to hear that. They want to hear they're living a good life. They could do better. Here are some things that you can do, that you can live a good life without destroying other people's lives and destroying the earth. How can I do that? Well, here are some things you can do. You can turn off the lights. Simple things. Start with simple things. What we did with the light thing was we associated with saving money, so that it became like, oh, I can save money, right? Because everybody can relate to that. Everybody wants to save money. We told them how to grow foods so they can save some money, go into the grocery store and learn to cook, perhaps. But it was very, very delicate. And then we up the action, so you've done this, here's what you can do. I think that with the SDGs, and we have 5 years to do it, is that everybody comes up with a framework. Who the heck wants to hear about a framework? They want to hear about how can they act? What can I do? How can I help my neighbor? Like localize it not just to a community. A lot of people are not involved in their community, unfortunately. I'm not saying I'm proposing that. I think that you should be involved, but should also take out the word should. Just the individual action, because if every individual did one thing, the actions and the impact is great. And that's what we have to celebrate is the individual actions, because that's what people first identify with is how can they do something. And I think that most of the SDGs talk about community, talk about global, talk about in the minds of people that cannot, they're like, okay, I can't make a difference, so they can't come in. And what we want is the cans to come in. So that's just my reflection. I have lots to say about lots of things, as everybody know, but I was trying to boil it down to my observation of the SDGs, which I'm dedicated to. But people are like, what's that? They're still asking that after all these years, and that's terrible. So anyway, I do have to run to get on the next call, and I'm so sorry. I hope I get the recording. But anyway, go ahead. I'll stay on for a couple of minutes still.
Okay, thank you so much, Joan. I'm glad that we got that on record. Ashok, you're up to the mic.
Yes, thank you, Jessica and Joan.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will just build on what Joan just said, and that was when it comes to communication, it still starts with being perceived and received with dignity, that time matters, and having a clear shared goal and is a good starting point. So to be able to articulate what it is about the specific either development goal or motivation is a good place to start. But also when I'm meeting with new groups, deep listening. And I love how Joan was saying you have to be present and silent in that it's really hard to go to ego silence and just ask that one question, how can I help? So I think if all of us start instead of a top-down model, bottoms-up model, and we go to our neighbor and we just ask that question, how can I help? You might not have all the answers. You might not. You won't have all the answers. But if some people can trust you that you really care, you really want to understand the situation, then I think that's a good place to start. The current situation in healthcare, anyways, in our city, is that we don't have um, collaboration at the level that this group does, for example, only because there's multiple enlightened interests, groups, there's intersectionalities that and religious opportunities, and then identity crises. So I think celebrating the individual story is a good place to start. And what we did for celebrating our city this year in June, well, the theme is One Nation, Many Stories. And so we're inviting any group that wants to come and be part of the city's celebration, which we've done annually now for 43 years, is to be welcome and have a booth or a part of the parade and celebrate our individual stories or our cultural stories. I'll just stop there, but I think communication is really critical, but it has to be respectful, clear, closed loop, and accountable.
Thank you, Ashok. And as we are seeking to address our global community, what are your perspectives?
I just have to go. Sorry.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much.
Yeah, I can try to answer that. So, three levels within Mayo Clinic's digital platform. We have a dedicated communications group that goes around to different venues and has created a digital Hippocratic oath for SDG 3, and we apply health as central to not just human well-being, but systemic well-being and transformation. We have a very committed philanthropic aspect, and my organization gives me time to commit and be part of Rotary, which Rotary is a great collaborative partner for the UN. Again, 1.4 or 5 million Rotarians probably won't shift the whole world, but if we really believe we can reach into each community with our individual clubs, I think we can start to uh, perfuse the ethics and the collaborative model of service learning to the group. What I think is a barrier is, where do we go to find these lessons learned and individual stories if it's not searchable in a cloud platform? And what do we do with misinformation and disinformation? So I have two groups that I'm partnering with. One is called the Digital Economist, and that group convened in Davos 2020 and is now an influencer and a convener. And so I'd love to see this partnership between Rotary and groups like the Digital Economist amplify our voice and our frameworks. I think for Rotary, it's pretty easy. We just implement the 4 or 5 way test everywhere. Our group added the fifth question of, will it be fun, to attract more Rotaractors and younger people. But I think our older senior executives also want to have fun. Like, none of that should not be just reserved for one special group. I think we all deserve happiness and joy, and as part of our metrics to say how good were we at celebrating the action or the event. So that's one group, the digital economists. The other is through our academic and professional societies. And so I'm a pulmonologist in healthcare, and I try to do that through my various societies and policy groups. American Medical Association gets connected to World Medical Association, which is linked to the World Health Organization. And I love what Joan said and what you've implied, Jessica, is you have to keep it simple and actionable and motivational.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ashok. And Aaliyah, welcome. And Sarah, welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. Sarah, do you have any commentary? Because we were speaking about our global voice going into communications. You yourself has a foundation that serves the youth. So even when it comes down to absorbing communications that maybe come from the top, maybe come from organizations like Rotary or the UN, are these items that are delivered to you through communication, are they understandable? Is it something that is fairly easy for your community or your young people to activate themselves in? I'd like to maybe observe Sarah's commentary because as we address our approach, as we address communications, I think it's very important that we observe not only the struggle of some NGOs that are on the ground, but perhaps even the difficulty in understanding action items that come from global communications coming from large organizations and institutions.
the truth is that I'm just coming in. I didn't know our time is backward. You know, you are ahead of us. I didn't know the meeting have started. It was exactly 3 that I come in. You know, what I want to say with the few things I had, you know, you in Western world, you have so many opportunities. But here in Africa, like I keep crying, I keep saying, we are void of so many opportunities. Except God make us to connect with people like you that have the mind for the people. You know, everything is about the heart, the mind for the people, for what you are doing. You know, like this morning, I was telling my husband, I remember a lot of things that I suffered, which I see young people, especially the female girls, the men boys too suffered. You know, I'm a girl, only understand about the girls' own. You understand? You know, I know what I suffer, how I was raped, how I was beat in the forest several times to the road to the school. We trek about 6 miles away from our village to about 3 villages. You know, it was something that was so painful. But the truth is that I believe when we have the support of organization, we can be able to help a lot of rural children. I'm not talking of the elites. There are so many elites that their children schooled in New York, in America, in Australia, all over the world. But who is looking at the grassroots in part of the world where I come from? They don't believe in grassroots. Nothing that is high that didn't come from bottom. Nothing that is high that didn't come from bottom. Since 2016, that 15, that my son died of cancer, it occurred to me that a lot of children are going through medical challenges. A lot of I knew before, but until I was in the hospital from January to November, that I come to find out that several children died in my presence. Several children died of cancer, even right now as I'm talking, of hunger, of nakedness, of a lot of things. You understand? So that's why me, I have decided for a long time to be doing this. Then later I influence a lot of children, a lot of girls that some of them are taking care of themselves lead you today. You understand? So these are the things in the Western world. Like I pray by the grace of God, sometimes some of you will have opportunity to come to Nigeria some days to see what I'm talking about. A man came from North Carolina. He said, this country is hard. If I stay here 1 month, I will die. You know, not that it's not everywhere, but the truth is just that. Like I didn't start with the topic of the message. I only have few that I met when he's talking about the organization and everything. I'm glad that I'm in here today to see what I can do for my people, not only my people, like we have taken it upon ourselves to do something to help people in our community and some other community in my state, those states where I come from, where I suffer, where I labor. If I show you my house now in rural area, the house I grew up, tears will come out of some of our face. You know, like it's true. I used to say that Jesus was born in manger. He never remained there. He moved forward. We want these children to move from manger into a better environment. Today is highly lifted up. For those of us that is Christian, we know what we are talking about. So that is why I'm pleading and I'm crying for God to send us destiny helper for these children, because everything that enter into their brain will work against a lot of them tomorrow. Some of them now they are into drug, some of them they are into prostitution, some of them still struggle to do better for themselves. So it's painful. It's painful right now. In my country, the war in Pakistan Iran does not concern us, but you cannot have lights for almost 2 years. There is no light, you know, a lot of things. So I pity the young people, some of them when I'm passing, when I see them, I need to gather them, I need to put them together, the little I can do. When they see others is doing well, they say they want to do, some of them, I got them, come and take, I give them little biscuit I have. What the mommy, I want to be a doctor, mommy, I want to be a lawyer, mommy, I want to be a farmer, you know. Like the other time I asked, I said, what is education all about? I was asking because you are from the Western world, you are highly educated. I'm not so educated, but I thank God that I'm picking up little and I'm still open to learning. You understand? I asked some of them, they say, Mommy, we want to try, we want to be a pilot, we want to do this, we want to do this. So this is their cry. And also the cry of so many parents too that want to see their children doing well. When you take care of a man and become great, it can be able to help his family. Sometimes it's not the whole world. That is what I keep telling B. That's what I keep telling B when he's talking of 10 million, 30 million, 20 million. Let's start from the grassroots. None of us is born as adults. We were born as kids, as babies. We grow up to become something. So with the little we have, let's grow up to become that which we want. Also, these children, as we take care of them, they will grow up and become great. Like I was telling my husband today, I said my passion and my vision, my what I love to see about this our NGO, not only because my son died of cancer, not only because of poverty, when we are able to manufacture things in how do I put it, mechanize things, then we see how we can export to other country, make money, raise other. This is how somebody become a millionaire. That is how you become great. Like this I'm wearing is my product. This is my product. I make this with my hand. And some of them I'm teaching them with a hand. Okay, imagine we have the machine that can produce this thing about 500 in a second. Several ones I used to show it. Some of the clothes I wear, these are the things I help them little by little, little by little to do. You understand? Like I'm talking at this phone, I don't know if we can last throughout the meeting, or I pray as I'm doing, I plug to this what we plug to. We charge it with money, we plug it. So we just see how we can survive. We are surviving by the grace of God. So we want to be a blessing to others. Let us be remembered for the good you did. Like a man said, if you want to be remembered, he said, do a good and build infrastructure that will be able to make people to remember you for the good that you are doing. So let me round up there because other people will still have to talk. I don't know if I'm along the line because I didn't hear the topic from time. I'm talking from my pain, from what I'm going through, seeing my children and other children going through. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much. And this is a question posed to the group. Even from what you've just heard, we are discussing our global voice. We're discussing stepping into communications as far as this group is concerned, and our approach. So, we have a perspective that's coming, from the ground there. And we also have those of us who have been involved in high levels of policy. So when we talk about the relevancy of Rotary International, what we are doing here at Dare to Be Great, and even the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, now where is your perspective? Anyone can jump in on how we are to approach our messaging with global communications.
Well, I think, sorry.
Go ahead, Dahlia.
Okay, I think you have to be sensitive to different countries' cultures in how you communicate with different communities. In some countries, we could be direct about any issues that they're facing. Other countries might be overly sensitive and think that we're attacking their political, social, cultural system. So it would be a question of how to go about improving conditions. Say, for example, the rural poor in Pakistan, without making the political government in power feel as though we're attacking their competence.
Yes.
Yeah. And then also without making the ancient landowners feeling like we want to be king.
Yes, that is true. That's what we do here too.
Yeah, so there's so many people, and then there's other people that have been working to achieve the same things, and you don't want to appear to diminish what work they've done, because all work is valuable in this field, and a lot of people have been working. So, if somebody's been working to improve conditions for rural people in Pakistan for the past 50 years, and we come along with a better scheme and we do a bit more good. We don't want to upset the other people because that's counterproductive. So all this sort of it all comes under emotional intelligence, really, how to
Yes.
handle a large and varied pool of people.
Mm.
I think that would be my contribution. Mm.
Thank you, Aaliyah. Ashok?
Yeah, no, I actually, Aaliyah, you said it much more elegantly. Co-creating a healing narrative for the individual, for the community, and for the world. It seems like that's our journey together, and to figure out how to um, not spin it, but um, frame it in a way that's a positive, hope inspiring model, and not to diminish what's been how we got to where we are now and focus on the negativity, but select and extract those stories and showcase the solutions that were local that inspired hope, that person or that group that helped change the mindset from a war gaming to a peace gaming. Um, I think Rotary. We've told the story about the origin of Rotary and its partnership with the UN. As UN celebrates its 80th year, we can remember how Rotary contributed to the framing of the UN and our mutual interests in sustaining or restoring trust and peace around the world at the community level. So I think maybe not one story, but many, many stories that are a mosaic of our humanity and our shared commitment to peace and goodwill understanding.
Great. And, just to back that up in regard to us seeking to cause mass movements toward things as we're seeking to, inspire and affect on into the millions so that we can experience a global pivot. Um, does anyone have any commentary as far as who we are as a group, what we're all about, our approach? Again, our tone with communications, I think that those comments are really insightful on, how we could put the messaging together. But what are the thoughts as far as, what would need to be done to get that message across? Would we need to engage ourselves on a large media news platform, or some kind of publication? Where are your thoughts for that?
I'll just ask one request from the group, if that's okay, Jessica. I'm I'm
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely. I think
yeah
that from
I'm
our,
putting
mhm.
yeah
I
I'm
think
putting
from our, oh, I'm sorry, Ashok.
I was just going to say I'm putting together a document for an operational guide for different levels of organization, and I'd love to bring that to this group, and I'll share it with you and Bill, and maybe at next a future meeting we can talk about that together.
Great.
It connects peace, health, and sustainability.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ashok. Yes, just to reframe the question, we've from the previous comments, I think that we have a good idea of perhaps our tone, with speaking to our global community. But now let's talk about what we would need to do, what would be most effective. Would this be a large media platform? Would it be some kind of publication? Engaging heavily in social media? Where are your thoughts for that? Posing that question to the group. Anyone can go.
I think we should do everything possible. Mainstream media is really powerful because the people behind it know the movers and shakers. So it's really important that we get mainstream media on board. And then social media is free to create, and that has a massive reach in terms of the people who would never look at mainstream media. And it has a different type of reach. It has people who have switched off from mainstream media a long time ago. So I think we should do both. I think excluding one would be detrimental.
Great.
Hello.
Hi, Mark.
Yeah. I noticed Augustine had a hand up, but I could just come in. I think I got the time zone issue wrong because I seem to have come in the middle of the discussion. But as I was preparing and looking through the material you had sent to help us focus our discussion, I was thinking, okay, yeah, even before we start thinking about communicating, it's about what are we communicating? Uh, who are we? And then, as was clearly spelled out, how are we going to begin to have the impact that we are saying we need to have? And it wasn't lost on me that the entire Rotary organization, I think at last count, is probably about 1 million people. This is 1 million in a world of about probably over 8 billion people. So it gives some kind of context of our numbers and our reach. So that was already sobering. And then when I look at, for instance, now I'm president in my club, and I'm one president out of over 140 presidents in my district, which is a small part of Uganda. So then that was giving me also a sense of, what is the scale, what's the reach of a given Rotary club? Because we are a Rotary club, or we're forming into a Rotary club. But we don't want to be like the typical Rotary club. We want to be exceptional because we are setting an exceptional target. We have a very exceptional vision. So then I just felt we need to probably position ourselves to be both conveners and thought leaders, so that we really need to structure ourselves so that we are away from any doing. I mean, we're not into doing stuff. We're not going to teach people. We're not doing, because a club can only do so much. But we could structure ourselves to be thought leaders. So we are thinking, we are influencing directions, and then we are convening. So we would then need to be deliberate about trying to find out who are the people that are doing certain things. And when we find out, then we're probably as conveners bringing all these various people. Say, if we want to have an intervention in education, then we are saying, as we've had over the last few months, we've been saying we need to leverage AI and modern platforms to be able to achieve educational goals. That's good. So that means we need to be convening the educators, the technology people, the people with finances, and maybe philanthropics and the rest. And we need to now be convening them, and then we bring our thought leadership, our intellectual capital to this convening, and we bring these people together and make things happen. Of course, that would involve bringing in governance layers as well, whether they be districts or nations or whatever. Now, if we could agree on something like that, then uh, we form ourselves into that, and then that would our messaging, of course, would then be automatic, because we would now be messaging what we are doing and what is the value that we are adding into the ecosystem of problem solvers.
Yes, I
So
think that's
that's
wonderful. I think you've expressed a wonderful understanding about what we do and who we are. Augustine, I see you have your hand up. Would you like to make a comment on Mark's? Augustine? Nope, I'm not sure if they're able to.
Hello.
Okay,
Hello, madam. How are you?
great. Thank you for being here,
Okay.
Augustine.
Okay. Thank you so much. My name is Augustine Nyakatoma, from Mwanza, Tanzania, Executive Director at Peace and Hope for Youth Development Organization. So, I have been attending this meeting for a long time, and you have been discussing so many things, including IE development, or utilization of IE in our development issues. We have been discussing about the CIFA plan, and now we are discussing about the Rotary Club. So actually, on my side, I have been thinking on our specific direction without having a big picture of where we are going on what we are doing. So my my suggestion or my opinion, I think it is very important for us, just as Mr. Ashok has said, maybe we need to have guideline, specific guideline on our plan or on our programs, and how it will be conducted, who will be responsible for what, and how everything will be done. I think this will assist us to make sure, to be sure that we are doing something in a specific time so as to reach at a certain result. So I think this will assist us to know who is doing what, and what our objectives, how we reach at the objectives we have said, what is our vision in such a things. Then starting there, we can plan on how we proceed. You know, we are coming from different countries. Others are coming
Yes.
from this. Yes, others are coming from developed countries. Others like me are coming from developing countries, less developing countries. So we are in different circumstances, different environment. We need to know on how we can do and what we can what we can do based regarding on our environment, regarding on our countries, depending on wherever we are. So I think that is very important to be considered, so as to make sure that you are going together as well. Thank you so much indeed.
Go.
Thank you. Sarah, you have a comment?
Yes, ma, I have a comment. You know, like Mr. Augustine said, you know, if you are in America, you cannot understand what is within your locality here in Africa. You understand? For instance, you are from the United States. I don't know anything about your community. We know our community. We follow our community. We understand our community. When there is something like problem is going to start, we know. When there is peace, we know. Like the community and the villages I work with, they need something to do. They want to change. They want to make the difference. You know, when you are in a community like that, work become easy. You understand? A woman told me, said, Sarah, I did not go to school. I wish my children would just know how to read and write. Then with the skills they want to do, you know, if you don't do, there is no results. Like my husband used to say, this is this chair I'm sitting. If we leave it here for 30 years and we travel far, When you come back, the chair remains there. The chair remains in the same spot you leave it. But when you move it from here to there, there to there, there to there, you make it a living movement thing with your hands. So doing is what we need in our community, in our environment. Like on Thursday, no, Wednesday, we went to one of the health center in our area. On getting there, because somebody says, Sarah, look for people that are sick. I want to give them small donation. We went to the place to go and give them what we want to give. On getting there, the matron said no, that we should give them, that they want to hold it. We said no, we cannot do that. You understand? We didn't strive, we didn't fight. We just say, okay, thank you, man. This is what the person that brought it told us to do. We are going to do that. When you are against what the community says, that is when you are looking for trouble. That is when you are looking for difficulties and problems. But in our own quiet way, we do our thing. The children are excited. The parents, they are excited. Very soon, the high-ranking people will know that you are working. It's like a pregnancy. I call doing as a pregnancy. The first month I'm pregnant, nobody know. Second month, nobody know. But after 4 or 5 weeks, 6 weeks, you discover the belly begin to grow. And people will say, oh, this woman is pregnant. So whatsoever we are doing in our community, it will speak for itself. You understand? With the little we can do, this we go. It's a world of internet. You are in US, ma. You are in London. You are in, some people are from Pakistan. Some people are from Russia. We are all here. Something that we do, the internet they do brought us together. So I believe that whatsoever we are doing, we speak for us in our community. In as much we are not causing violence, we are not turning children to be nuisance, we are not doing anything against the community. So we should work with wisdom, number one, and people that are willing to do. If they are just few, go with them. The more you begin to do, you discover your words speak for you. Then after 9 months with the pregnancy, you bring your baby, people congratulate you and applaud you. So whatever we do with wisdom, with patience, and with persistence, you discover people will say, well done. No room, no house is built in a day. You start from the foundation, you put the block, then from there, your doing begin to show forth and people will congratulate you. I believe in doing. If we can start with little that we have in our environment, I think at the end, people will applaud us. That is what I believe we should do in every community, like my community. This is what I want to do. I cannot speak for you in London, ma. I cannot speak for you in America. I know my community. I master my community. I know the people I'm dealing with. At the time I'm able to do 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5 things, you discover that the community is getting change. Yes, ma'am. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. So today's meeting is going to be a little short, but what I want to do is, from what we've all heard here, I'd like us all to take a look at the manifesto, the documents on closing the gap on education, and kind of review if you've taken notes, or maybe you need to look back at the recording as we are discussing readiness gap, closing that gap on readiness. If Do we all have Telegram? Are we all in the chat on Telegram?
Yes, ma'am.
Aaliyah, are you in there?
Yes, I am, Jerica.
Okay, great. So leading up to next week, like I said, please review those internal documents so that you have an understanding. But also, I would like us to start sharing those ideas for messaging. Um, in the chat so that by next week, we can kind of come to a consensus on where we're going to start out with that particular messaging, because that's most important. As we remember, we are not the ones who are figuring out functions and frameworks and things of that nature. We are those who influence those particular individuals and institutions that do that. So please keep that in mind when we discuss communications and even outlets. For instance, things that are making it newsworthy is simply about what we are seeking to do, the mass effect that it will have on the world, and we are the ones that cause things to happen. So be in that mindset of causing the pivot to happen. And we're going to just start throwing in those communications toward education. We're going to focus on that for the next week, closing the gap on education and closing that gap on readiness. So if we could just engage with each other on Telegram, maybe take today to review those internal documents that Bill has sent already. If you have comments on the internal documents, feel free, or edits or anything like that, feel free to put that in the chat so that we are, ready to start producing things in a more collaborative sense for the group by next Saturday.
Yes, ma'am.
Sound good?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep, great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bill does his best. He's at the conference. So, we were on our own today, but I do think that we, without having to run way over time, I think that we got enough information and comments. What I was seeking to do was also grasp our overall understanding, where the conversation goes, where the comments goes in regard to our understanding of who we are and what we do. So that will also help myself and Bill just appropriate things internally so that everyone knows where we're placed in this whole wheel of change. I think it's really important that everyone have that really strong base understanding. So I think coming together collaboratively just on this particular point will kind of show us where our understanding lies and then where we can improve amongst each other so that we can be extremely productive this year. Our last year has been a lot of learning tools, learning history. Bill gives us a lot of history, so we're able to kind of, put that forward and projecting like trajectories of different things. So we've had a lot of learning, we've had a lot of discussion. So now we can start to put those things into action items and move forward and really cause this mass effect that we would like to have. That is actually needed in the world. It's not about our own goals. It's simply that our world is fast tracking itself into peril. And we have to do something that is of mass scale if we want to make a difference here, if we would like to pivot. And that's what we're really after. And that's where our mindset has to be as well. As we understand grassroots and we have perspectives into grassroots, some of us even have foundations and initiatives. It's important that we recognize those voices, but it's also important that we look at them at large, that they are, in fact, a global community, and that's whom we seek to serve. And we would like to see the change happen upon the millions, even though it is very important for us to affect, small communities and things of that nature. That's where we need to engage ourselves and maybe deploying people out from the clubs to really super engage themselves. But when we talk about causing that mass effect, that's where I would like our minds to be when we go back and forth on Telegram within this next week so that we're prepared for next Saturday.
Okay.
All righty. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for sticking around, ladies. And we will see you all next Saturday. And we look forward to communications on Telegram.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. God bless everyone.